of Johannesburg has promised to review property rates and tariffs for schools. But the city says the schools will now continue to pay higher rates until the matter is addressed. That's after private and some public schools were classified as businesses under the new amendments to property rates. The decision for the review of the rates was imposed by the Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs Department. Let's take this further with Lebogang, Montjane, Executive Director with the Independent Schools Association of Southern Africa. Good to have you on Daytime Update, so welcome. Will this added expense be passed on to parents?
Yes, but Tamika, from our understanding, thank you very much for inviting us to this interview. But from our understanding as ISASA, the mayor has written to us and indicated that they have resolved the matter on a temporary basis. So now they are trying to relook at the classification, and that instead of the tenfold increase for public schools and the sixfold for independent schools, they're going to increase the rates by 5% until a solution is found. So we are grateful to the City of Johannesburg for responding to our concerns.
And if that doesn't materialize, say, by the end of the year, you're going to a new academic year in 2023, will it have no impact at all?
The city has undertaken to make sure that they found permanent solutions for the next financial year. So we are pleased that they have indicated this. They've indicated they want to engage our attorneys for a permanent solution. So we are glad that they have decided and heard our pleas, and they've indicated that the city, they felt obliged because of cooperative government's decisions to change the code and get rid of the classification of education.
So regardless then of the increase, would you be able to absorb other lower increases without charging parents more?
I think a 5% increase is actually quite reasonable. A tenfold increase was not reasonable, and that was going to result in many schools closing down. And our deepest concerns at the time was is that effectively, if this had continued, independent education in Gauteng would only be accessible to the very rich. Because what is happening is that most independent schools are actually mid to low fee schools, and many of those independent schools charge fees lower than those in the public system. So we're really glad that the mayor has understood the importance of education and treating it with the required consideration to make sure that independent education is accessible, because independent schools actually help alleviate the pressures of the public system.
But not all schools function on that system. Some of them are, yes, privately owned, and ultimately, while they do good in educating children, they do derive a profit. So why not classify those as businesses?
Well, I think that in fact, that is actually what is interesting in the debate that we've had. Certainly, the state could actually choose to do so, but having an education institutions is a benefit, and they do serve a public purpose. So I really think that while our worry was this, because some independent schools are businesses, they are for-profit enterprises, they were now classifying all schools as for-profit enterprises. And I can say in our membership, for those who are for-profit schools, I would say it's about 1 to 2%. 99 to 98% of our schools are not for profit. All income goes towards running of those schools. And as we know, regrettably, educators are not paid very much. So it really was something that was deeply concerning, that if you're trying to do the business issue, that must be dealt differently rather than classifying independent schools all as businesses. Actually, the other irony of it was this, Tembekile. About 40 to 60%, depending on your province, where you are, of schools are subsidized by the government. So government itself says independent schools are not businesses, and we're actually going to give you a subsidy to assist you to educate children because it's a state obligation. Then for you to turn around to say to a not-for-profit school, oh, and here's a state subsidy, but you're a business, it was an illogical thinking or understanding.
So in that 1 to 2%, which is what you say is among your membership, the profit-making segment or section of the schools, right? Are they all correctly classified as businesses?
No, I think that Johannesburg understood as a civic duty that the education sector is important. That's why they had a code for education. And you must understand something else here. This increase in rates did not only apply only to independent schools, it also applied to public schools. So certainly, we as ISASA are not going to, are agnostic about how the state classifies for-profit schools. But it is important for us to know is that certainly, even if you are a school, you cannot be treated like you're a large for-profit company because most schools are not that at all. So the City of Johannesburg classified education had given it at 25% of the commercial, and we're charging PBOs and educations 25% of the residential rate. And then they moved to say, oh, no, we're now going to classify all of you as businesses. So all PBOs jumped from 25% of the residential rate to tenfold to do a commercial rate. And I think that, let me just, for your viewers, discuss this as well. We fought all the way to the Supreme Court of Appeal for our schools in eThekwini. And exceptionally, the Supreme Court of Appeal gave a cost order against the eThekwini municipality for demanding that independent schools who are not for profit in the city of eThekwini be treated as businesses. So even the courts are not in favor of treating schools as businesses.
I want to come back to something that you raised earlier, and that was around the risk of closure if rates continue to rise, or if, as things stand, this set of tariffs remains in place. How real is that risk today?
Thankfully, now that the city has actually is giving us an interim solution, looking for a permanent one, a 5% increase certainly on rates is a reasonable increase, considering where the inflation rate is. So we are grateful for that decision, and we think it's a sound decision. But certainly, for example, as ISASA itself is a public benefit organization, our bill moved from 3,000 a month to 32,000 rands in 1 month, in July. The reality is that some schools were charging, even low-fee schools were, let's say, paying, 5,000 rands a month for the rates. It ended up being 50,000 rands. There's absolutely no way that schools could have dealt with that kind of increase in the hundreds of thousands and into the millions. That would have resulted in those schools either closing or increasing their fees and not servicing those children, and then the city would have to try and accommodate those children elsewhere. And I can assure you, the public system is doing the best that it can, but it cannot afford to have additional students trying to place a burden on that system.
The likes of the Kiro group of schools, as well as AfriForum, have already said that they intend to take legal action, go as far as court, to challenge these tariffs. Would you join that action?
No, where the situation now stands in the city of Johannesburg, the mayor has given us a 5%. Now the mayor has also undertaken to enter into discussions with AfriForum, Kiro, Advotech, as well as any other schools that are affected by this rates question. So we are now certainly, the city saying, let's not go to court, let's resolve this, and we're listening to you as citizens and civic bodies.
Lebogang, Montjane, good to speak to you, sir. Thank you for your time.